Hello, I'm Chris Menard. Today I have a great Excel pivot table video for you. I have an upcoming speaking event to some CPAs and I'm going to cover this. This is how to change your default layout for pivot tables, which drives me crazy what the current default is. So I have a table. I'm going to make a pivot table, and what I want to point out is what the default layout is. So I'm using Office 365. It would be the same in Excel 2016 or Excel 2019. Insert, pivot table. As you know, we make a pivot table with 5 clicks. I named the table Data 1. I'm going to click OK. There are the fields. Just so you know, to keep this really simple for this video, I'm going to pick on country. That's in my header row. I'm going to pick on segment. I'm going to pick on revenue. So that's the third field. And when I do the second time through here, I'm going to pick on product. So country, segment, revenue. Country, I'm going to check. Revenue, I'll check. You notice down below in the right, country went into the rows. Revenue went over into the values. So far I don't have any issues. I'm happy it summed up the revenue for all the countries I had in my data set. So right now I'm perfect. Here comes the issue I have. When I add the third field, which is going to be segment, it'll put it below country. I've got 2 issues. One, if you notice, Brazil is an A4, Enterprise is an A5. But they're in the same column. They're both in column A. That's one issue I have. This is known as compact form. The second issue I have is my subtotals. Those 3 numbers for Brazil, if I highlight them, they do total up to 590,929. The subtotal is showing up above the details. I like the subtotal to show up at the bottom, and I also want the segment to show up in another column. So there's 2 things I want to change, and if I have to make 15 more pivot tables, I don't want to have to keep running through these steps. So I'm going to simply go File, Options. Under File Options, this only works though if you have an Office 365 subscription, or it works with Excel 2019. I'm running Office 365. I have data. If you don't see data, you can't do this. When I click on data, it says make changes to the default layout of pivot tables. So here it is right here, edit default layout. I want to see my subtotals instead showing at the top. Show at the bottom, and notice that says report layout compact form. That's what's given me Brazil in A4 and enterprise, government, and small business in A5, 6, and 7. I want those 3 items moved over into column B. So I'm going to say tabular form. Now when I click OK, it's not going to change it for this pivot table, but it will change it for every pivot table I create after this. Click OK. Click OK. I just said it, nothing will happen. Let's go make a new pivot table. Insert pivot table, click OK. Country, I'm going to check. There they are. Revenue. I'm going through the same exact steps, but the pivot table default, here we go. When I click segment, this is how it looked just a second ago. What it should look like, look, I'm going to go the long way. What it should look like is pivot table tools, design, subtotals, show at the bottom of the group. Watch the subtotals move. Now, report layout, tabular. Notice these 3 items here, report layout, tabular, they're over another column. So the minute I add segment, I swapped worksheets in case you're wondering. Watch this, I'm gonna check it. I'm already done. I don't have to run through all those steps I just showed you. This is my new default layout. One more really cool example of default layout. Right now, at this step, I do not have any grand totals running. Design tab, grand totals. And the reason none are running is I've got country and segment under the rows. I need to put something over here in the column. So I'm gonna just drag segment. I told you, no, I'm gonna leave segment there. I'm gonna take product and drag and drop it into the columns area. When I let go, I have a grand total over here, column I. I should also have a grand total at the bottom in row 48, and I do. So in this next example, why you might want to change the default is, let's say you always want to see grand totals, but I really don't want to see, I'm making this up, I don't want to see grand totals in column I. And I also want to see a blank row. There's Brazil before Canada. I want to see a blank row between those. Well, here I go again. Grand totals on for columns only. Actually, can't remember which one I said, but that'll lose column I, but it's still down here. Let's say that's what I want. And then I want the blank row. Blank row. Insert blank line after each item. Again, if I've got to make 15 pivot tables for some executive that wants to always see it this way, I don't want to have to keep running through all these steps. So let's go again to File, Options, Data. Two ways you can do this. I can sit here and change this and say grand totals. Notice I hit the drop down arrow on for the columns only. I could do that. And I could also select insert blank line after each item. That would work for all future pivot tables. But since I have this one set up exactly the way I want it, it says layout import. This is a cool feature. I'm going to go select A4. Notice, watch this. Look what I have right here for grand totals, and look what I have for blank rows when I select import. Watch them change right now. Columns only and insert blank line. Click OK, click OK. One real quick test. So we know it's good from here out. Let's test it real quick. Insert pivot table. I'm actually going to use some different fields this time. I'm still going to use country and revenue. Country and revenue. Nothing to show yet. I'm going to see segment across the top. Still nothing to see yet. And I'm going to show product below country. My subtotals are showing up. Brazil, row 7, that's perfect. My blank row is showing up in row 8. Row 16 is the blank line. Row 21, so that's working. I do not have any grand totals in column H, which is correct, but I should have them at the bottom, and I do in row 57. So that is a great feature on changing the layout of your default pivot table. That's only for Office 365 and only for Excel 2019. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a great Sunday. Thank you.